everyone, I'm Jane. This is the final video from What Can Silhouette Studio Do for the Planner in You, the workshop that I did at the recent PlannerFest meet. We're going to look at our print and cut settings, and some of that will be done on this, my main computer. And then there'll be photos of my printing and cutting and some screenshots from my smaller laptop, which is what I use to power my Cameo in a different room. Let's start with our basic setup. You can choose your paper size here, A4 or A5 if you're going to be doing those sorts of things, or letter if you are in the States, they tend to use letter. I always stick with current printer, and my current printer settings I can find here. If I click send to printer, this is my default printer. It's the HP Envy 5530, and this is the web version in the sense of it's my Wi-Fi version. And then I can choose my further preferences here, and every printer will have some form of this, but they'll all be a little bit different. I choose my paper type to be that HP matte brochure or professional paper. That's what I find gives me a really good finish. I have a print quality of normal. I very rarely use best. And draft, of course, I just use when I'm checking things out. And then, of course, pages per sheet and such things. So you can go into advanced here and change your paper size. You want your paper size of your printer to be matching what you're using in Silhouette Studio. So I've got A4. And of course, here is where you change your orientation if you were going to print landscape. But I always tend to print portrait. So I can click OK, I can click apply and then cancel and know that I've set that up properly. Now let's have a quick word about print borders and cut borders, and for that we'll zoom in so that we can see the edges of our page here. There's a very thin grey line here. That's the default margins that your printer has, and every printer is different. So if I click show print border, it disappears. And whenever I know I'm doing print and cut, that's always on. This red line is the cut border, and that's determined by the registration marks. And again, you can turn it on and off. So now let's have a look at the registration marks. I'll fit to window again, and they are these black marks, two at the top and one in the bottom left corner. And you can see here that they're actually eating up quite a lot of our space. Now, depending on where you read and who you speak to, lots of people say don't alter these, Silhouette Studio doesn't like it. I've always altered mine and I've had no problems. So I'll tell you what I use, and you'll see that it works for me because you'll see the photos of what I'm going to be doing in a few moments. The style is always type 1, so you can turn them off, but we need them on for print and cut, so on. And if I click restore defaults, you'll see that they're really quite large, and I don't think they need to be that big. So I have them at a length of 500. I keep the thickness at 50 or 0.5. And then the inset, they choose 0.625. And I always drag that right down to the minimum, which is 0.394. And that means I'm not wasting as much space around the edge of my A4 sheet as before. Now, it occurs to me that with an A4 page of stickers, they're going to get tatty perhaps before you've had a chance to use them all. So we ought to divide up our page. Now, the quickest and easiest way would be to just cut it with a paper trimmer or scissors in half. but I wanted to make sure I didn't have these black registration marks left. So I'm going to do it all with my Cameo, and the first thing I'm going to do is draw a rectangle, and I want to make sure that I've got blue as my colour, and I'm going to start just under the black square there and make sure that I miss the other marks the other side and that I'm inside the print. That I'm inside the red cut border, and I'm also going to zoom in so that I can make sure that I'm really close to these edges. I think about there will do. And what about this side? Yeah, this is near enough right as well. And then let's check the top, and again I want to be under this black square so that it's not going to be on any of my finished sheets. It means I waste a little bit of paper, but I like things to look pretty and nice, and big black lines don't, do they? There we go. Then I can go fit to window. And now I want to divide inside here into 4. So I've got 4 equal smaller sized pieces. If A5 is okay for you, you just need one more line, but I thought I'd do these into 4. So I'm going to use draw a line. I'm going to hold down my shift key and it will draw a nice straight line, and I just need to go over to the blue so that I've caught both of them. And then I want to select the blue rectangle and go down to this middle line here, and I want that to center itself halfway. So if I click align middle, I know that this blue line is now equal within my blue rectangle. And then I'm going to draw around it, go to object, replicate, and rotate 1 copy. And then I can pull that up past the blue at the top so that it meets and it will cut right through, and the same at the bottom. It doesn't matter if I go past with these because it just won't do anything past the cut border. And again, I want to make sure that this is in the middle of the rectangle, so select the line and the rectangle, and this time choose align center. And it didn't move much because it rotated around the middle. And then I can select all of my guidelines together, the middle lines and the rectangle, group that together, and I know that that is my template for cutting stickers, and I would recommend that you save it, file, save as, save to hard drive, give it a name, and you won't have to keep repeating this process every time you do your stickers. Once you have your guideline like this, it's time to put in your stickers, and I've done that here. You can see we've got my guidelines just like I've shown you in blue, and all of Katie's lovely doggy stickers. I've done the large ones, and I also made some slightly smaller ones, and here I actually just cut out the dog on its own to fill in the space so that I didn't waste too much space at all. And with Stephanie's, the Asda, that was a little bit more tricky. I couldn't fit everything on, so we've got some black and white, some colour, and I made some little flags with the 1, 2, 3 in some matching colours just for the fun of it, really. So these are all ready now for printing and cutting. It's at this stage you would normally sort out the settings for the cut, and I can do some of that on this machine, but because my Cameo is not connected to this computer, I don't see the actual auto blade feature, and neither does it tell me that I've got a cameo attached. So if I go into send, when you've got a lot of cut lines, by the way, it does take a while to generate the cut preview. So let's just wait for it. Oh, there we go. And doesn't that look absolutely awful? And the reason that looks absolutely awful is we're in what's called simple mode, where it's just looking for any lines and it's deciding it's going to cut all of them. And as you can see, that's going to be a right old mess. So we're going to go into this tab called Line. And that's looking a little bit better already, isn't it? I can see quite clearly it's cutting around my actual stickers, but of course I've got it cutting out here, it's cutting out Asda, that's why it's heavy. So we need to sort out our line colours here and what we want them to do. The machine will only do what we tell it. So first of all, the red. That's what I'm going to call my kiss cut. It's what is going to be around each individual sticker. And I want to do that first. So I can click on it and drag it up and put it in first place. The blue line, and this is why I'm always so careful with line colours, that I try to make sure that I'm using colours that are not actually in the design. This blue line is going to be the guidelines that cut through all of the paper so that we can divide it up. And these other lines, no colour, and these greys and blacks, I don't want these to cut or do anything. They're only going to print. And so I can uncheck them. And then once I do that, I can look at this sheet and see that my thicker red lines and my blue lines are all where I expect them to be, just around the stickers and these little flags. So that's perfect, that's absolutely right. Of course, if you find stray cut marks where they shouldn't be, you can, and this hasn't got rid of them because you've happened to use one of these two colours that you want to use, you'd have to go back into your design area, find it and sort it out. But we're all right, so I can go on now to choosing materials. I would love to be able to here give you some definitive numbers that will work for any sticker paper that you use. However, that's not the case. I had some sticker paper that I bought last year, and when I used the same settings that I had saved here on the paper that I've used this time, it just cut straight through. It was far too fierce. So let's have a look at some suggested settings. So if we go down here, we'll see sticker paper clear, glitter, glow in the dark, and you're probably going to be using, like me, sticker paper white. Red is going to be sticker paper white, and they're suggesting a blade of 2, a speed of 8 and a force of 14. I tried this on my sticker paper and it cut straight through, and that's why I know that as much as I want to, I can't give you definitive numbers. You're going to have to do your own print and cut test. The paper I am using, in case you want to buy it and try it, is from Amazon, and it was the Avery sticker paper. I'll make sure that there is a link below, and I think I can put it in the PDF, or I did put it in the PDF. And I know that my settings for that, because I tested it, I've saved them down here. I've got all sorts saved. Kiss cut. AV for Avery and sticker paper, SP. Kiss cut, that's for the actual stickers. I want it to cut. I can't change my blade here because it's not registering that I've got an auto blade. And I found that a blade depth of 1, I always cut a bit slower than it recommends, so I took my speed down to 5 and a force of only 10, and that was perfect to give me a decent cut. Passers here This just means how many times it goes around cutting, and usually one pass is enough. And this check mark at the end here is the line segment overcut, and you click these three dots to open the advanced materials panel, and in here you'll see line segment overcut, and I've got it checked, and I've actually only got it set here at 0.1 millimeters, but 0.2 works well too, so I'm going to change that look to 0.2. And that means that when it gets to corners, like around these corners of the stickers, instead of dragging around the corner, the blade will pick up and start slightly behind where it finished. And that means you get really good sharp corners and hopefully no tearing of your paper. So that's what I would recommend to start with. And then if I just click save, it will save my setting as Avery sticker paper kiss cut. So I'll click save, and then I need to close this window. Now let's do the same for the blue, and this time I want my other sticker paper, which I've called cut through, or I've got two actually, I got a bit confused. So we'll go for cut through. I've got same speed, 5, but my blade is now 2, and I've got a force of about 28. Sometimes I change this depending on how it's looking, but 28 to 29 seem to go through the Avery paper well. And again, I've got my line segment overcut on, and let's just go and check. Yeah, I've got that at 0.2 millimeters, so I can close that. So once everything is set up like that, you would be down here where it would be showing your cameo, and you'd be able to click send. So I'll take some screenshots when I'm through on my other machine. So if I go back to design for now and save, that means that all those settings that I've just changed in there are now saved with this design. And we'll do exactly the same with Katie's dog. We'll go into our send window, have a look at our settings, and this one's already been saved with them actually. So let's check kiss cut, blade of 1, 5, 10, and what's our overcut? So have I got this one right? Yes, 0.2. So I can turn that off, and then we've got cut through, blade 2, speed 5, force 28. So that one's already set up. And again, if you've made any changes, you come out and just save it. So now I'm ready to print. One word of warning: now that your cut settings are finalised and you've got your document saved as it is, try not to move anything, because if you move anything by even a millimetre, you'll find that it won't align when it comes to doing the cutting. So once everything's done and saved, don't touch the design. So let's go up to our print, send to printer. I've got my default printer all set. I want to print the current page. I only want one copy, and off we go.